Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us. Welcome to the Why Does My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vickey.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met at a training, and our secret sauce is that we and our partners became fast friends. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for couples therapy. If something you hear in this podcast stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com to leave a question of your own. Here's today's question. Today's question, continuing in our Why Does My Partner mini-series on boundaries, is why do I feel so bad when my partner gets disappointed or mad at me? It makes me not want to speak up and share my truth. Ooh, this is a common one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how many people have shrunk away from sharing their truth?
I was just alluding to this on accident at the end of
our last
episode.
Yeah.
That was totally. I would love to take credit for being that good of a teaser, but no, I'm going to be honest. Like, that did not cross my mind. But like, I really like Gabe scoffs at me. And
Yeah.
There you go.
Or a deep sigh.
So this is great.
I
am curious about
it.
Right? Yeah.
I'm curious about something, Vickey.
Yes.
Beck, would you be willing to do some psychological boundary work during this episode? Push back on me and tell me no. I celebrate boundaries.
I did.
So
you literally wrote the book on them.
I literally, not the one, but a one, definitely.
The one that we are celebrating, Setting Boundaries That Stick by Julianne Taylor Shore.
Yes, I would be willing to do some psychological boundary work with you.
Great. Okay. So when I think about what this caller is asking about, it's the exact same thing you're asking about with the scoff. Mm-hmm. So the work we would do is the same work this caller would do. So one, I want to name that if somebody's experiencing disappointment or anger or whatever, that is even in response to a very specific thing you did. That does not mean
I'm mind reading.
It's entirely about you. So we're taking it personally on all sides today.
Yes.
We're taking it personally when we're receiving the disappointment and anger and deciding not to share our truth because we can't. We're taking that person's feelings personally.
Yeah.
And they probably are too.
Well, because
that's part of why it's happening.
The scoff, if I perceive the scoff might happen, I opt not to speak.
Right.
It's not worth that scoff.
It's not worth that
it
scoff.
Sounds so ridiculous.
My gosh.
It's a
you
scoff.
do not sound ridiculous
avoidance.
To me. You do not, Vic, you do not sound ridiculous to me. This is what we do. And this is why one of my internal boundaries that I talk about is a psychological boundary. When I say psychological boundary, what I mean is a space between your mind and my mind where it's totally possible for us to feel very differently, to experience different things, have different thoughts and emotions, and have it be okay, safe enough for us to stay in connection. Yeah. So how do we do that? Well, I have to protect my mind from your mind. And I have to protect your mind from my mind.
Mm.
What?
What?
I know. If you would like to stop emotionally manipulating people, which sometimes you might do, I know I do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Psychological boundaries super, super helpful. So, like, if I'm trying to manage, basically, maybe manipulate isn't even the right word. So, if I'm trying to manage somebody's feelings,
A little
I have no
bit.
psychological boundary.
Mm-hmm. How do I say it in such a way that he won't scoff?
Yes.
Is a little bit of manipulation. I never thought
Actually,
about that before.
you are.
But
Yeah, you are managing his
I
feelings for
am.
him.
Mm-hmm.
What you're basically saying is, it's not okay with me that you
Yes.
have emotions and thoughts
That's
and feelings
exactly what I'm
over
saying.
there.
Yes.
And I want to name really clearly, I am separating this from behavior.
Yes.
Not all behaviors are okay.
Yeah.
But
But
feelings and thoughts
I also shared,
are
in a
okay.
separate one,
Yeah.
in a while ago, how I do think the world would be a better place if everyone thought exactly the way that I do. So
You have
Totally.
said that before. I've totally heard you say that. We've
Yeah.
giggled about that together.
we have,
Yeah.
absolutely. So of
So what
course
if
it's not okay that Gabe would scoff, because that means he's disagreeing with me, and that is not allowed.
that is
Yes.
right? Now you've got it.
I do.
Okay. So here's a curiosity. Would you like to do a little experiment with me? Try on a couple ideas where you could maybe not let the scoff in,
Maybe.
right?
That would be pleasant.
That would be amazing.
Mhm.
And you could not try to manage his feelings so he didn't scoff in the first place. You could let that go. Would
I
you
will
like to
try.
do a little practice?
I would a little practice.
We're going to do a little practice. We're going to see. So
I would love to have him stop scoffing, though. So that's going to be hard to let go.
Well, that's the thing we're not going to do. We're going to let him have the freedom to scoff because it's not going to hurt
like
you.
it.
You take it personally
that's
right
true.
now.
Yes. So if it doesn't hurt me, then why can't I just allow his response? So yes, fair point.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
Okay.
what I'm
because
catching,
the hurting is the personalization of
Yeah.
what does that scoff mean?
Mhm.
Right.
And then it hit your heart,
Mm-hmm.
and now it
Because
hurt
that
you.
scoff means there was something wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
which it does, by the way. I mean,
No, it
I'm not
doesn't.
doing it.
But we're about to get there. Let's talk about that. Are you sure it means that? Okay.
I'm sure he would tell you if he was standing here that it means that.
So
But you're going to tell me how to let him think that without me agreeing with him.
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay,
yes,
I'll take
exactly.
that. Yes,
exactly. So the psychological boundary is made up of two things. One is discernment. The other is listening with acceptance. Discernment keeps your mind safe from his.
Mhm.
Listening with acceptance keeps his mind safe from yours. So let's do discernment first.
Mm-hmm.
So I want your psychological boundary to only take in what is both true and about you.
Mm-hmm.
If it is either not true or not about you, and I don't mean true for him, I mean true for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So he could be talking about you.
Oh yeah, the scoff could be at her, and the thought could be, "You're crazy."
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we could even ask him, and he might say, "Yes, that is absolutely what I was thinking."
Yes.
You might even be right about your guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So let's do some discernment. Is that true? You're crazy?
That's why I'm laughing, because yes, I am. But no more crazy than everyone. So
exactly.
Yeah. So no, it's not true.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So it's not true. So it didn't pass one of our guesses. Right.
And it has to pass both.
Both, or it doesn't come in.
Right.
So if it doesn't come in, then that's not information about you. That's information about him.
Mm-hmm.
So if he scoffs and you imagine it means he thinks I'm wrong.
Oh, right. Crazy.
He thinks I'm crazy. And you're going to guess it. before you
He
even
thinks I'm
breathe.
ridiculous.
He thinks I'm
thinking
ridiculous.
this whole time it'd be so easy if I could actually remember one of the occasions, and I can't, but I do know that he does think I'm ridiculous.
He does think you're ridiculous.
He
Okay.
does sometimes.
So put that over there with him.
Yeah,
Is that about you, or is that about what he thinks is and is not ridiculous?
That is about what he thinks is ridiculous. I do in the real world struggle with that piece though of the is it about me? That it's getting a lot better, but that is
perfect. I love that you're struggling with that. So let's really be with that. What in his history, and you don't have to say that out loud. He's not here to say whether or not it's okay. But think for a moment about everything you know about him and why he might assess a certain thing as ridiculous.
Okay. Yep.
Now tell me how much it has to do with you that he thinks something is ridiculous.
Oh, that's really funny. Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Oh,
That's really funny.
No, sweetie, it's not about you.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Can I just verbalize? I'm watching your face and it's like, oh, wow. Like that just really landed. And I don't
It really
think
did, yeah.
Yeah. And I think our listeners can hear it, but I don't know that they can see it the way that we can.
Yeah.
So I just want to give it voice.
The little thing on top of my nose. Like in the forehead, you know,
when you went, wait a second, the world is different than I thought it was.
Just like connected to the third eye. Yeah.
Right.
Right. It's like, but right that spot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a second. How much of it is actually about you? Nothing.
Even when he's saying it is.
Yeah. Your question, Jules, was, and this would be a lot to try to think of in the exact moment when it happens, but the question, and I could only do this with someone I know well enough, like Gabe, and he's kind of a closed book anyway, so it's hard to know him, but what is there in his history that would lead him to believe that was like, oh, wow, yeah, that literally, my brain went to like history before me.
Yeah.
Which means it can't be about me.
What he thinks is ridiculous and not ridiculous has nothing to do with you.
Literally has something to do with me.
It literally has nothing to do with you.
I like jumped into one of his buckets, but those buckets were there before me. I know that's really weird analogy.
They got nothing. But no, it's great. Really, I love your buckets. And those buckets, you didn't make them.
No, no. Oh, I like that analogy. I might use that with my clients sometimes.
And
the
by the way,
were there pre you. Do you just jump
I would
into
challenge you, even for people you don't really know.
Oh,
there's a whole history there.
That's true.
You may or may not know anything about.
Yeah.
But there's a whole thing that's happening there that's part of the reaction and the assessment of the moment. So is it actually about you? No. So if my husband is upset with me because I am late and I made an agreement not to be late, then that is about me. Absolutely it is. Of course it is. I'm the one who was late. I put some stuff into the environment that of course caused a reaction. That is mine. That is about me. I absolutely take it in. He thinks I died on the highway. Well, I didn't make him think that. It was 5 minutes. That part's not about me. So you can actually once you get good at it, you can get very, very nuanced and very, very rapid in how you take in what is and is not about you, right? How you take in what is about you and is true, and keep out what's not about you and what's not true, even inside of a single sentence.
How long does it take to get that good at it?
2-3 years.
Because I don't think, thank you. And I'm mentioning that more for our listeners because I think this conversation would have gone very differently, maybe even 6 months ago, with me not being able to grasp how much that's Gabe's stuff. But I have been doing the psychological boundary work a lot. Like I don't hit 500 times a day. I don't, but I'm picturing that
nobody does. We put an insane number on it.
Yeah. But that insane number is basically saying all the time, like whenever you can think about it, do it. Right. And it is finally starting to click.
Yay!
So when you
and
say
you've
that
only
it
been
will,
doing it for 6 months.
like,
This is
oh,
great.
no, I've been doing it for like 2 years, but about 6
Okay.
months ago, it really started to click.
Great.
And like, and by clicking, audience, I mean, it's happening on its own.
It's happening on its own.
Like, I'll think
Yeah.
about something and all of a sudden I go, oh, that's not mine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I've thought about
It's
that.
starting to make it in lower.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like something I've
Mhm.
felt guilty about for 20
Mhm.
years suddenly clicked of that wasn't my fault.
That wasn't my fault.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
like, I mean, not to sound really cheesy, but this stuff does work.
Oh, it really, really
Coincidentally,
does.
it really happens to work. There's a reason that Jules put it in a book.
It's really consistently helpful
Yes.
for people. But if you practice it, if you choose not to practice
Yes.
it will not be consistently helpful for you. So
Right.
so here's the other side of the boundary. Let's protect a Gabe from you now.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Okay. Every feeling and thought that he has is just him becoming him through time as he learns and grows.
Says the poet. You're so
What is a
poetic.
feeling? What is a feeling? We just looked at all his buckets.
Right.
He's making sense of the world where he is now. He's making sense of himself in the world. He's making sense of his goals.
Mhm.
He's making sense of what he's longing for and what he's trying to
Mhm.
achieve in this life. He's comparing that to every bit of his history. He's doing that in a quarter of a second or less. And a
Oh, my
feeling
Lord.
comes up to tell him what this means to him and what he means to him in this moment. Why on earth would you want to change that?
Don't get me started.
Really? No, I
You're
mean
smart.
it.
Really, like
Why on earth?
why would we want to change
Why would you want
someone
to
getting
change
to know
who he's
themselves?
becoming through time, hun?
Because my grandiosity says because my way is better.
Oh, well, we'll work on your containing boundary next week.
You asked.
I love it. I love it.
That's my
No, this
real
is great.
answer.
Because you think at the moment it would be easier for you if he became who you wanted him to be rather than who he's becoming.
Easier and better, but yes. Yeah. I didn't think of easier. I don't like you saying
I'm
that
sitting
one.
with that, right? Like, is it actually easier if the other person is just like us?
No, I don't think
Yes.
it is.
Is it?
Would
Is
would
it?
be for Vicky thinks
It
it would be for
be.
her.
Yes.
Vicky thinks it would be for her.
Okay.
It would not be for you. And that's okay to have that difference. I want you both to put your psychological boundaries between you
Yeah.
so that we can be connected to each other. Right? So, of course, it's going to be fine to have everybody the same. No. Well,
You see, I think
probably
Jules thinks
not.
that'd be boring.
I would be bored, but I wouldn't.
Yeah,
be
Yeah, but does it
dirty.
matter what Jules thinks? Because it's
Not
like,
really.
it doesn't really
No.
matter,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like that's
Nope.
But I'm
like
pointing
it
out that's why
matters
she
if we
thinks
care
no.
about Jules, but does it matter? Do you have to take it personally if Jules thinks that?
No. Fair
Mhm.
point. Just like I
Yeah,
don't take
yeah,
personally
yeah.
that you don't either. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
here's Gabe feeling things, calling things
Mhm.
ridiculous, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is him becoming himself through time. And I have a really serious question for you. This is actually a big question. I want you
Okay.
to pass. You don't want to answer it. How much do you respect him?
Well, very much.
How much do you love him?
Oh, very much.
Yeah. So tell me again, why would you want to change who he's becoming through time?
Because I want him to be different.
Because it would be easier for you.
Yes. Yeah.
So you get to choose right now, and it's a hard choice. And I don't actually take this choice lightly at all.
Yeah.
Do I try to make my life easier for me, or do I respect him? Because I can't have both. I know. I see your tongue
she's
sticking out
giving
at
you
me,
the
and I love
tongue.
you. I accept your tongue sticky outiness.
Because I know I can get away with that here.
Wait,
Yes,
can I
you
ask you a
can.
question, Vic? When
Yeah.
you did just stick your tongue out at Jules, like
Mhm.
what was emerging within you in that moment? What was the feeling that was emerging? Like you getting to know yourself? What was happening?
I don't want to accept that I agree with her.
Oh,
I don't want to accept that I like almost like tennis, like game, set, match. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
really good point. And I don't want that to be true because I really want him to be more like me.
Well, it is
Totally.
hard
So
news.
it's the boat. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm asking,
totally.
look, there's two
Yeah,
hard
it's the both.
roads. It's two hard roads. And sometimes we want to say, well, we want this hard road over here, but do not look at the cost of the hard road. So I want the hard road if
Yeah.
I'm going to make him more like me. But then we don't look at, actually, that's going to land as invasive and disrespectful. And like, you don't accept him for who he is. And you know what? He's right.
Yeah.
You don't.
I don't. That's 100% true. Yeah.
Yeah. But you love him
And I
and
want
respect him.
to. I
You want to.
I do want to accept him for
Exactly.
who he is. So that was the
Of
challenge.
course you do.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Of course you do. But damn, that's hard.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, now. So we have a little bit of listening to with acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little bit of discernment. Oh, I don't have to take in what's not about me. I don't have to take in what's not true for me. I don't think I'm ridiculous. I see that that has nothing to do with me and everything to do with his buckets from his history. Okay. So can you ask, and it may be the same image comes up and it may be different images come up in this moment. Can you ask, and I'm doing this in a neuroscience-y way, but I don't have time to explain why right now. So just go with me, all our sweet listeners out there. Could you ask your belly and your heart to hold these two knowings? You can discern and not take in what's not yours. You can. And you can listen with acceptance even when it's hard. Ask your heart and belly to hold those.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it perfectly? No. Can you do it sometimes? Good enough. Go with that.
My image changed and I don't like it.
Oh, but I love that it changed. Something was important.
But it might be,
there.
yeah, it might be good. My white picket fence became a wrought iron fence, a black wrought iron fence.
I love it. A black wrought iron fence. So we just ask the belly and the heart to hold these things and ask them. No, it's totally fine. And Vic already knows this exercise, so she jumped ahead in her mind, and that's totally cool. And then we ask them, show me an image that knows these two things. And some people come up with a visual, or you could come up with a gesture. Some people who are really linguistic even come up with a word and float that word in a certain color in front of them. Okay, so now it's a black wrought iron fence.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Could you imagine that black wrought iron fence in between you and Gabe scoffing?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel inside now when you imagine him scoffing, but the fence is in between you?
Nothing changed on the inside. Oh, there's a really weird tingling on my right shoulder.
Okay. Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. Oh,
Shush.
Wait.
Well, nothing was changing until I said it out loud. And then I got this
ooh, tingling.
like if I've ever had one, which I haven't, but I would describe it as like a heat flash, like a hot flash of menopause.
A hot flash, yeah.
Like this huge
and you can say it.
tingle.
You can say the answer out loud or not. It's totally up to you. Could you ask your right arm and shoulder, what do you want me to know?
Something's different.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah, I think I know why it became a wrought iron fence.
Oh, do you want to say out loud or no? Thank you.
Sure. Mm-hmm. It like got firmer, so less is going to come in.
Yay! Because you take too much in, and ain't that the truth?
I take too much. Yes, because Jules knows me. Yes, totally. So I was not happy when it happened, as you guys heard. I was like, oh, it changed. But it was because less is going to come in now.
Yeah.
And it was like a pretty, like the white picket fence that was wood that was pretty close together. And this is black iron that's farther apart, but there's something about the iron for my brain that was the firmness. Yeah. So something changed.
Something changed inside. Mm-hmm. Wow. Now you would go ahead and practice remembering that image, the wrought iron fence between you and everything. And I mean everything for a while. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, as many times a day as you can do it. I mean, between you and the computer, you and the phone, you and the dishes, you and the steering wheel, you and your partner, you and the dog. Put it in between you and the world. People ask me, when should I practice my psychological boundary? And I say, all the time.
And shouldn't you?
Can I add something in here? I think we're just about there, but there's two pieces. One is that for those that really want to understand why image, read the book. setting
Mhm.
boundaries that stick. Jules really outlines it and explains it in there. And two, something I've discovered with my people is that there's a spatial thing that some of them need to play with, like about how much space kind of like they have that boundary image. In this
Mhm.
case, maybe it's the wrought iron fence, right? For
Mhm.
some, it might be a forest or whatever the image is
Mhm.
between them and the other person. And then it's like they can add more acres between them and that
Mhm.
image. And so in their
Mhm.
mind's eye, they can play with spaciousness in
Yes.
different ways to see kind of what
Love that.
supports their practice.
Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds wonderful.
totally.
Mhm.
Well, and I'm thinking going back to our caller who came in, right?
Yeah.
Who is struggling saying your truth.
Mhm.
My guess is just like we were exploring here, there's something that feels really scary for you
Yeah.
about the other person having difficult feelings. And so you're keeping your truth in to not deal with that fear.
Yes.
And if you add a little bit of psychological protection for yourself, that fear will get less even when they're mad. That fear will get less even when it'll be more tolerable.
That's a good way to phrase it. Yeah.
It's not going to be
More,
pleasant.
It's
We're not going
kind
to
of
make
like
it pleasant.
but
It's-
more tolerable.
yeah, because
I like that term.
you're gonna be okay.
You're going to be okay.
You're gonna
even
be
while
okay even if they're disappointed.
Yeah.
And they're going to be okay even when they're disappointed.
Yeah.
Maybe disappointment is the most important feeling they could be having right now. Maybe we don't want to save them from that because maybe that's going to help them emerge into something greater as they move through that little mini grief. Why would you want to save them from any insight that's coming up inside? So we don't have to save them from their feelings.
Right.
As hard as that
I actually
is
think
to,
of feelings
like,
as a gift.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yes,
as
you
hard as
do.
that is to learn, it's also incredibly liberating,
Mhm.
right? I don't have to save
It
somebody
is.
else from their feelings.
Yes.
I don't want you to. If you do, you will stop their emergence. Please, please, please stop saving people from their feelings.
One of my clients. Oh, go.
Yeah, because the feeling is like a new meaning being created in this moment. And it may be on the path, even though it's painful, it may be on the path to something really important for that person.
Totally.
One of my clients said once, I loved this, I wrote it down. You can only care about other people's stuff so much. Like that just hit me of like, she was like, I just get overwhelmed sometimes. I'm like, yes, because you're absorbing way too much.
Yeah. And if you're one who absorbs a lot of feelings from others, psychological boundary work is so helpful. And make sure you do it a lot. The more you use that image, the more it's going to lock into lower parts of your brain, and the more it's going to be there to serve you, even when you're not thinking about it.
And read the book for more detail
All
on
the
what she's
details
talking
and
about.
a very specific practice to follow to help you find yours. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. This book has tons and tons of practices in it. Yeah.
And join us next week when we talk about containing boundaries.
Yay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at one of our workshops. You'll find our next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you can ask us your questions?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.
And here are some gratitudes. Thanks to Al Huberman, our sound editor and podcast production magic maker.
Thanks to every one of you who has joined us for our workshops in the past. We've learned so much from all of you.
And thanks to everyone who's reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews help others to find the show.
Take care of each other best you can.
See you next time.